So what we want to be able to do today is make it so that we can specify the x and the y coordinates of the circle and the color all in one call. Well, that's cute. So that'll work just fine. Pretend that was a solid circle. So we could say, okay, draw a circle at this position and I want it blue. And draw a circle at this position and I want it red. And draw a circle at this position and I want it orange. Something like that. Now they'd be filled and not looking like clocks or whatever. That's a little bit beyond us, at least the time that we have. But that's the idea, so that we can call a circle function and it'll go to the right place. And we don't want it to look like an Etch-a-Sketch, right, where there's a line connecting everything. So in order to do that, we're going to have to use a couple of commands. One called pin up, which lifts the pin so it's no longer drawing, and then another one called pin down. So if we think about everything that we want this to do, we're going to want it to go to a specific position, go to an X position, go to a Y position, then lift the pin, and then change the color, and then draw a circle of the correct size, and then put the pin back down. And maybe we'll set the heading so that all of the circles are drawn in the same way. And what I mean by that, let me just pop open idle and give you a demonstration of that. So if I draw a line and then I draw a circle, we can see what it did, right? It started the circle at this point and then it veered off to the left to draw the circle. But if we were going in a different direction, turn left or right, and then we drew another circle, I should have drawn a line first, make it absolutely clear. You see what it's doing? Now it's drawing it sort of in a different angle, at a tangent. It always draws it, if we're going to use our old trigonometry terms from 8th grade or whatever, at a tangent to whatever direction it's going. So if we set the heading the same way before we draw the circle each time, then we're pretty sure we're going to be able to draw it, going in the right way. So the reason we're going to do that is because we're going to specify an XY coordinate, and we always want the circle to be drawn from the same way, right? Because if its heading was due west, then it would draw the circle underneath it. And with the heading due east, it's going to draw the circle above it. And we want it to always draw it the same way. It doesn't even really matter which heading we set the line to. But I'm going to set it to 0. And in Turtle Land, 0 is not due north, it's due east. Okay, so maybe we'll put that in our list of commands that we're going to have to do. Now, I don't want to have to do that once for every circle I'm going to draw, right? I don't want to do that, in order to do 5 circles. That's really annoying. What I want to be able to do is something like this. Draw a circle at position, 1, 200, and I want it to have a radius of 50, and I want it to be red, like that. That's what I want to be able to do. So that I only have to give 1 command per circle. And then if I copy that, 5 times and gave it different X and Y coordinates and radiuses and, whatever, I could draw something. Alrighty. So I hope y'all weren't actually typing all this, because this is a lot. And we're going to do the same thing in Python itself. So let's fire up idle. I think I already had it up. And make a file, new file. Do a save as, and don't call it Turtle. If you name your file Turtle, then it will really mess up your Turtle efforts to get it to go. It'll break it. So call it face, or yeah, I'm just going to call mine face. Face.py. I know that we always name them after days, but in this case, this is also going to wind up being a homework. as well as, you know, a in class. So it's going to count doubly. Alrighty, so let's import our turtle and let's make a new turtle. Now the last time I did this, I just did t is equal to turtle.turtle. And that's good enough, but that one page we were looking at named them things like Alex is equal to, you know, things like that. Just remember that t or t dot is going to be the name of our turtle. So t is equal to turtle.turtle with a capital T. Lowercase t everywhere except for the second word, the one after the dot. And don't forget your parentheses. Alrighty, let's see if we can get all that working. What are we going to have to do? We better lift the pin before we start going anywhere. So I better rearrange the order in which we do this. Yeah, I could do the mistake and then watch it draw lines everywhere, which is what I did yesterday when I was demonstrating it to the other class. Yeah, let's leave that alone and then we'll fix it. So we're going to do t.goToX. I think that's wrong. T.set x, and we want to set it to a specific position, like 200. And t.set y to another specific position. And remember that 0, 0 is in the right of this, right in the middle of the screen, and that if you give the x-coordinate positive values, it goes over to the right, and if you give the x-coordinate negative values, it goes over to the left. Y values, positive is up, and negative values is down. All right, let's set our color. Red, comma, red. Remember that the first one is the line and the second one is the fill. So if we wanted to, we could change, you know, the fill to a different color. But just roll with me on this. Alrighty. Let's set our heading to 0 degrees. So it's always going due east before it draws the circle. And then let's actually draw the circle, t.circle of, you know, a specified size. 75, whatever. And let's test that out. Let's make sure it actually works. We want to get this to work before we start getting fancy and making everything in modules. Alright, I made a mistake. What was wrong with mine? It said heading takes one positional argument, but two were given. Is it set heading? Let's change that to set heading. Yeah, that worked. Okay. Good enough, but I don't want it to leave a line. Yeah, you all know what I'm talking about. You played with Etch-a-Sketches when you were kids. And everywhere you moved it, left a line. No way to stop it from doing that, unless they've come up with fancier ones now. So before we start moving, we want to lift the pin. And after we're done moving, but before we draw the circle, we want to put the pin back down. Alrighty, so before we start moving, before the t.setx, let's do, I think it's pin underscore up. It's funny that some of the commands require, you know, underscores and some do not. I don't know why they made that. And then here below, after we set our position, we're going to set the pin back down. So here's the two places that we just changed. We just changed that one, or inserted a line there, and we just changed that one. And I'm going to walk around and make sure that we all have circles and lines being drawn before, well, no lines actually, because we're lifting a pin, and it blew up. Alright, it's not called pin up. Here's where I lift. It's probably just called lift pin. Python 3 turtle. That's what I'm going to Google. It went to Python 2, but it'll work. Pin down and pin up with no underscores. Alright, we can handle that. Okay, so that should have been pin down and pin up with no underscores. So remove the underscores from pin down and pin up. I'm putting more hashtags to show that we've changed that twice so far. All right, so it ran over to that position and it drew a circle. All well and good. Now, is there any of this stuff that looks like it would make a good module? I can think of 2 modules to make out of it. And I promise to start calling them functions, but whatever. I can think of 2 functions to break this into. And before I do that, I'm going to walk around, make sure everybody's got a circle drawing. But this stuff looks like a good module to me. Why do I say that? Because it'll set the position of the pin, of the turtle, anywhere we want. And then this looks like another good one. So let me do walkabout. Okay, so like I said, I want 2 functions. I think I'll make a function called goTo. I'm going to put it as a comment here for now. I want a goTo function. And I want a we could call it drawCirc. I could just call it circle, but I really don't want to confuse that with the t.circle command. So how about drawCirc? That's short enough. If you felt like it, you could call it drawCircle. If you wanted to put an underscore in it, make it all fancy, whatever. Just make sure that you do it the same way every time. All right, how do we define a function? We use the def keyword. And this one's going to take 2 parameters. It needs an x parameter and a y parameter. So the way you define a function is with def followed by the name of the function, and then inside the parentheses you list the parameters it's supposed to take, and then a semicolon. Excuse me, a colon. And then we have to tab these things over, right? Because every time you have a colon, the next line has to be tabbed. So all 4 of these lines need to be tabbed. There's an easy way, and then there's a far easier way. The easier way is just to go and move your cursor like that. You know, okay, that's, you know, going fast. The easier way is to highlight them all, either with your mouse or by hitting Shift down cursor, and then choose Format Indent. Just get them all over there. All right, so what keyword am I going to use here to define my drawCirc? Kind of already gave it away with the word define. What's my keyword that defines?
Def.
Yep, def. And I'm going to call this one drawCirc. And if we look at it, I'm going to go ahead and not do any guesses and get it wrong, because when I get it wrong, then I make us retype it, then invariably I mess it up for y'all. We're going to need an X position, a Y position, a radius, and then a color. And I think that'll be enough. And a colon at the end. And again, we have to tab all this stuff over. I'm going to delete that blank line. And just to be nifty slick, I'm going to add a return statement to each function. So I'm going to go up here under the t dot pin down and do return. And I'm going to do the same thing to the drawCirc function. Okay, now this is looking good, but we don't want it to always go to 200. We don't always want it to go to 100. We don't always want it to be red. So we're going to have to replace all these values with the parameters, with the variables that we're passing in. So you're going to take that 200 and goTo and replace it with an X. So just delete 200 and type X there. And you're going to take that 100 in the goTo and replace it with a Y. Okay, so I'm going to change that to an X and a Y. And to make it super easy to read, I'm going to put spaces around it. You don't have to do that. And I think I'm done with these little comments. But I did change that one, right? I put an X there, and I did change that one. So those are the 2 lines to eyeball. Make sure you got it. Now here, the same thing. We don't even see X and Y yet. And the problem with that is that drawCircle needs to call goTo first, so it'll go to the right place. So I'm going to have to add one more statement to the drawCirc, and I want to do it before we actually draw the circle. So why don't we do it here? Go to x comma y. And then where we see these quote reds, delete those, including the quotes, and replace them with color. If we ever want to make it so that the pin color is different than the fill color, we would change that. We would have to add a parameter here and then change one of them here, but nah. And then set heading, I'm going to leave that 0. Like I said, I always want it going the same way when it draws a circle so it's consistent. But what is that 75 value? That's the radius. Okay, so what have I changed? I just added this line. I changed to support our parameters here, and you certainly don't have to add my comments. And then I changed this to radius. And we've made a bunch of changes, so we better actually test it. So down here at the bottom, draw circ, and I want this to be at 0, 0, and I want it to have a radius of 50, and I want it to be blue. So it has 4 arguments. Arguments are what fill in the parameters. It's called arguments when you're calling the function. It's called parameters when you're defining your function. Now, if you mess those up, it's not a big deal, and half the time I just call them all parameters. All right, I'm going to add a couple more spaces to make it easy to read. You certainly don't have to do this. All right. Why didn't I do that to the top code? I don't know. Maybe I will. All right, so I'm up here, and I'm going to add some more spaces here. You don't have to do that. All right, I'm eager to test it. Why am I wasting time putting spaces? So let's see if I get a blue circle at position 0, 0, which is the middle of the screen pretty much. Yeah, pretty close. Now, why do I say pretty close? Because this is the middle of the screen there, and so it didn't draw it, you know, right in the middle of the screen. It drew it above it because that's the point that it's tangent to. And do I want to mess with somehow making this function move the cursor and always go down 50 and stuff like that? I could. But that would have to involve using another goto command and all that, and I don't feel like doing that. That'll make it a little bit more complicated. So we're just going to roll with it. Alrighty. I think it worked. On mine, I'm going to draw another one at position -50, which is going to be on the left side of the screen. At +50 for the y coordinate, which is going to be up above. And I'm going to, just to make sure that it looks different, I'm going to draw it with a radius of 100. And I'm going to make it red. All right, I think that worked. -50 went back that way from here to here, and then +50 for the y moved it up a little. Maybe if I make a little dot right in the center that shows, you know, where the 0, 0 position is. I'm going to do that. I'm going to add one more draw circ above everything, just so that we have a little point right in the middle. It's going to be 0, 0 with a radius of 1, and I'm going to make it black, just to make it real obvious. Although with a radius of 1, it's going to be pretty dang small, but here we go. See, I drew a little dot there. And so I know, you know. Now, one thing I notice is that it's not filling. I've made a mistake. I didn't plan on doing that. I wanted the circles to be filled, like so it would be a solid blue and a solid red. So I'm going to make those changes, and then I'm going to walk around. And I really wish I hadn't done that, but what you do is you begin your fill before you draw the circle, and then you end your fill after you draw your circle. So I'm going to need to put a blank line here and a blank line here inside the draw circ command. And as soon as I do this, I'm going to go, you know, walk around, make sure everybody's doing okay. And so I don't get it wrong, I'm going to Google it up. Is it begin fill Or is it like start fill? Let's check it out. Yep, it's begin fill. Okay, so right here above T dot circle in that blank line, T dot begin underscore fill. Now this one does take an underscore, whereas the rest of the commands didn't. I can't explain why. Maybe two different people worked on the project, and one loved underscores than the other. Okay, so that's a new command right there. That's a new function call to the circle library. Excuse me, to the turtle library. And that is also a new. Let's see if I get some. Yeah, alrighty, I'm getting my fills. Let me get this up on the screen. Hope that you can all see it all. If I delete this comment, I can get more of it on the screen at the same time. If I take the line out between the return and the code, alright, that's hopefully visible enough. If you need these top two lines, they were import space turtle, and then T is equal to turtle dot uppercase T turtle with parentheses. And I could get rid of that go to comment as well. And now I'm pretty good to go. Let's pause it. Alright, so hopefully you've got it all working. Pause it and type it in if you need to. I'm going to delete all my comments because they're making the code look nasty. And like I've said, you never have to add them. What I should comment is what the code does. I should tell you what goto does. And I should tell you what drawCirc does. So I'm being a bad programmer by not putting comments above my functions indicating what they do. Alright, let me go grab the instructions for this to show you what kind of face I want to draw. Or heck, I could just load up Paint. Where's a circle command? Shapes. Right, I want a great big face, or a big thing like that. Alright, how do you deselect it so to stop? Okay, and then I want some eyeballs, except I want these things filled. And it's going to kind of be like a snowman face. And you can make it look different if you want. People have made it, you know, like the things have pupils or whatever. That's kind of what I want mine to look like. And so now I'm going to have to think about how I want that to look. What coordinates I'm going to use. That's the key. So the coordinates that I need are going to be like one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Those are my coordinates. So yeah, how am I going to do that? I think I'll just get some graph paper. Google up some graph paper. So I type in graph paper, I clicked on images, I'm looking for one. I was hoping to find one that had an X and a Y of 0. That one will do, won't it? Well, that's kind of lame. Now I wish I could find the one that I was looking for. Why not? Okay. So I'm going to copy that image and go back into Paint and create a new document. Yeah, sure, why not? Okay. So out of this, I need an X line and a Y line. So draw a line from, where's the line tool? Isn't it just a brush? Yeah, like that. That's going to be my X line. That's going to, no, I've got that reversed. This is X. This is Y. And so I want my circle to kind of be like this, or maybe even nice and large like that. Whatever. Am I going to take time to make it absolutely perfect? Alright, so that's kind of what I want it to look like. And then I'm going to want some eyes up here. So I'm going to put an eye there and an eye over here. And then I'm going to start his mouth off with a dot there. Alright, so if I think about the points that I need to draw, I'm going to want a point there, right? That's the first circle I'm going to draw. And then if I draw the eye next, I'm going to need that position, and I'm going to need that position, and I'm going to need that position. Then we need the scale, right? Because if I just use that as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we've already seen what a circle, with 1 looked like. It was just a fly speck. And we've been drawing widths of 50 and 100 and stuff like that. So maybe, I don't know, we can make these go by 10s or 20s. If we go by 10s, how big is this thing going to be? That's like 50, 100, 150, 200. I think that'll work. So, if we're going by 10s, what is this position? His x position is 0, right? Because that's 0, 0. And here's the x line. So his x position is 0 and his y position is negative 100. I should be writing these down. So his face is going to be at 0, negative 100. And what is his radius going to be? The radius is not the one all the way from here to here. It's just from here to here. And so if each square is 10, then that would be a radius of 100. Come on back. Now let's find another one like the eyeball. This position. Alrighty. What's that guy's x-coordinate if each block is supposed to be 10? 10, 20, 30, 40, and then go on up. And why don't we just start it there to make it even, rather than make it 25 or something? So what is that position? The y position. Going up, it's 20, so we're going to set it at 40, 20. I hope y'all are getting how we're doing that. So his right eye is going to be, and I've already forgotten what it said, 40, 20, and I didn't specify his radius. Looks like a radius of about 10 to me. I know I'm going to wish that I'd chosen larger values. And so his left eye. If I look at it, it's going to be the same thing, except the x-coordinate is going to be negative rather than positive. And why do I say that? Because, that's positive 40 right there. He's beginning to look like he's crying blood. That wasn't my intention. And so the x-coordinate of this eye is going to be negative 40. So negative 40, comma, or, and then 20 with the same radius. I'm going to not even bother doing the mouth right now. That's probably enough, those 3 circles. So I'm going to slam that over to the side, get my code back up, slam that to the other side. Alright, so the first circle I want to be, if I'm going to do a yellow face, I want that color not to be black but yellow. It can be anything you want. And its x position, I want it 0. Its y position, I want it 100. And then its radius, I have a feeling that I've chosen the wrong radius dramatically here. What did I really want the first one to be? Because 10 is very small. 10 is just a radius like that. Yeah, so I'm going to want a radius of 100. So I need to change my notes over here and change that to 100 because that's the radius. Alright, now I'm going to do the right eye. At position 40, y coordinate of 20 with a radius of 10, and I'm going to leave it a blue eye just for giggles. And the next one are the same coordinates except the x position is negative. Negative 40, 20 with a radius of 10. And let's see. Alrighty. For one thing, I do want to turn the turtle off. I want to hide the turtle so I don't see that, you know, little speck there at the end. What'd I do wrong? Oh, I made it positive 100 on the Y. And which direction is a positive on the Y-axis? It's up. So I better change it to a negative 100 on the Y-axis. And I hope y'all remember your trigonometry. It's going to be a lot easier to do to finish this one off if you do. It's just XY coordinates. All right, so there we go. That's looking real good to me. But I do want to hide the turtle. I don't want that little speck there left at the end. So I'm going to Google the hide turtle command to make sure I don't get it wrong. Hide turtle Python 3. I don't know when I say Python 3, it still takes me to the Python 2 command, but whatever. Hide turtle with no spaces. So the very last thing I want to do at the very end of all my circles that I'm going to draw is a hide, whoops, t.hide turtle. No underscores, no spaces. T.hide turtle. All right, cool deal. So maybe to help you if I uploaded this picture, although that's pretty ghastly looking. So I'm going to put this on the front page for y'all just so that you could finish doing what I'd like for you to do, which is to kind of add some more circles, you know, to make a mouth. Or whatever. You know, some people make, you know, pupils in the eyes or something like that. Whatever you want it to look like. So that's going to be what we do for the rest of the day. And it's going to be both an in-class and it's going to be homework. So once you're done with it, then you can bail for the day. And I do need to do a walkabout, make sure everybody's, you know, got the big circle with the 2 eyes. I'll get there. Let me just upload this graph so that everybody can get to work on it. So is the strike still going on today? I thought I read last night that it was gonna.
Yeah, there's still people out there.
Okay. Where'd I put it? All right, if you go to the news section, there's a pretty ghastly looking face. Feel free to start working on it. Let's see if I can get the code back up on the screen. And then I'll pause it. So you can make it look whatever you want. Colors, you can give them a frowny face, whatever. So on the front page, I put our really poorly drawn turtle and the turtle color chart, and I will make drop boxes. I want you to upload this both into the in-class assignment, because we did it in class, and the homework assignment. So if you were here today, you would get to knock out a homework, you know, for free.